Okay, today we're going to be changing the belt, tensioner, and idler pulley on my Mercedes E500 W211. Should be a fairly simple job. Let's cover what you're going to need. First, what I purchased was the Gates belt tensioner complete kit. I like the idler pulley on the Gates because the bearing inside the pulley is much larger than some of the other brands. You see a big plastic wheel with a little pulley in the middle. This should be a bit more durable, and what's even more important to me is quiet. This tensioner here is a Leitens. From what I heard, this is actually OEM. This is what Mercedes puts in. You're also going to need your tools, some torque sockets, your run-of-the-mill ratchet set. What may come in handy also is a belt removal tool. I'll cover that when we get to that point. Also, you're going to want to have the correct E-sockets, which are like a reverse torque socket. Pick this up, Harbor Freight Tools, $10. Add that to your toolbox if you don't already have it. We'll start by giving ourselves a little extra room. We'll remove the front engine cover, just lift up, and then pull forward. And for a little extra elbow room, we're going to remove the left side air intake. Okay, let's start by talking about the tensioner. When you receive it, the tensioner for this car will be under tension. This pin here is holding it in that position. That allows you to reach the two mounting bolts, which are there and there. The way you release the tension is by putting a 17mm socket on to that bolt area there and flexing it outward, either with a breaker bar, or I will be using the bar from my belt remover tool set. This gives you a lot of leverage. I recommend using that. If you try doing it with a regular socket, you're probably going to have a hard time. There's a lot of tension on that spring. That may not give you the leverage you need. So first thing we're going to do is we got to remove the original tensioner from the car. I'm going to use the breaker bar, the socket, flex outward, and if you see, there's a little hook there that is designed to catch that pin. Now, whatever you use to lock the old tensioner into place, keep in mind it's going to stay with the tensioner. Once you have the tensioner off the car, whatever you use in there is not going to be coming out. I'm going to use an old Allen key. I got a ton of those sitting around. It's strong. It won't shear off when I put it into there, and I don't care if it goes in the trash along with the tensioner. As far as the size goes, it's that big. Now, a lot of this is done by feel. I'll try to give you the best view I can. The hook that we are going to put this pin into is roughly at the 5 o'clock position. So reach down there, feel that hook, flex downward on your breaker bar while keeping your Allen key seated in that hook. Let go, and that tensioner has now released the tension on the belt, and we will be able to remove this belt, which is our next step. Okay, so now the belt's out of the way, and we are going to remove the tensioner. It's a number 12 E-socket. That loose, and then the lower one. Make sure you get the correct make sure you get the correct bolt down there. The bolts, you'll find them roughly at the 10 o'clock and 4 o'clock position. Okay, the old tensioner's out. And you want to blow out the screw holes, the mounting holes, with some compressed air or maybe some low VOC brake cleaner. Okay, the new tensioner's in place. Those two bolts now have to be torqued using a torque wrench according to Mercedes. If it's you're threading it into a socket that's already threaded, you're not using a self-tapper, it should be tightened to 25 Newton meters, which is 18 foot-pounds. Also, I do not use any thread locker on there. I don't know what Mercedes rule is on that, but I'm apprehensive to use thread locker bolting it into aluminum. That's it. And the lower one. Okay, now we're going to move on to the idler pulley. If you still have the cover on there, pop it off, remove that, and you're going to need a T50 hex socket. When you do this, you will need to flex a little bit of your fan housing out of the way, because this does bottom out there, but you can get it past. And just as a note, with the gates with the larger bearing, this cosmetic cover will not fit over top of it. Like I just said, it's cosmetic. It's not going to make any difference. This is a sealed bearing, so you can just put this aside, discard it, whatever. We won't be using that. Flex that a little bit. Get that up in place. I already blew that socket out with compressed air. Now if you notice, there is a shoulder back here, and there is a shoulder on the bolt. You want those shoulders socketed inside the center of the bearing. Okay, and torque specifications for that bolt has been much harder to find. Info I've found, I don't know if it's referring to the bolts on this pulley or here. What I'm going to tighten it down to, the best I can find, is 14 foot-pounds. And that's it. Once again, it didn't feel like it was under a lot of tension when I loosened that bolt up. And according to the torque wrench, at 14 foot-pounds, it broke loose. So I feel pretty confident with that. Okay, now it's time to put our new belt on. You'll find it easier if you just go online and print up a diagram of your belt path. And what I like to do is start in the middle here, where it's a little more congested, and then work my way around on each side. And then as the final step, we're going to be releasing the belt tensioner, and that will be the wrap-up of the job. Okay, everything's now in place. If you have trouble getting the belt on, it will usually mean that it's somewhere along the path. It's not seated into one of the pulleys. So feel around. I had a little bit of trouble down at the AC compressor. Once I got that seated properly, it popped right into place, and it fits almost snug. This is a new belt, so it's not stretched out. So now we're going to flex the tensioner upward, and I'll tell you, this new tensioner I could feel is 100 times stronger as far as that tensioner spring goes. Remove our pin, let the tensioner go. Check. All seems good. And congratulate yourself on a job well done.